It was indeed on a very cold day, 228 years ago, that they died for freedom.
What happened was as clouded as that night was bright on a full moon in 1770. An unruly crowd, some would say mob, took to the streets under the old State House.
The crowd of people were, in fact, taunting the soldiers. There were snowballs thrown, there were some sticks thrown, what we would call brickbats, which are not brick but wood.
Radical Sam Adams and colonial workers had been looking for trouble. They hated the occupying army, whose soldiers were Catholic, Irish, and Scots in a city that liked none. Frightened, confused, and poorly disciplined, the soldiers fired on the crowd. Among the 5 dead was a towering black man who may have been a runaway slave and may have been part Indian.
Mostly the evidence is that he was at the forefront of the crowd, swinging the club so it struck the barrels of some of the muskets.
The Paul Revere print, markedly different from the sketch Revere may have presented at the trial of the soldiers, transformed the incident into a massacre, a huge event in the mythology of the revolution which began 5 years later. Were they martyrs?
Were they people who died? Yes. Did they die in a good cause? I don't know. Adams described them as the most insignificant people on the continent.
At 2 trials, the soldiers, who were defended by John Adams, would be acquitted because the jurors found they had acted in self-defense. But Crispus Attucks, honored with a commemorative coin presented today, is called the first black patriot.
The Congress of the United States, for the first time in history, has honored the patriotism of African Americans.
And so Crispus Attucks and 4 others symbolize a revolution that was the product, after all, of little people. For the Eye Opener, I'm David Bowery.